All right, big story out of California and Texas. What it started in Texas has to do with gerrymandering and redrawing district lines. Joining us is Tom Collins, Citizens Clean Election Commission. We got to talk about the gerrymandering for a moment.
Sure.
What happened in Texas, where the Texas legislature voting on redistricting and a new map, and the Democrats left the state. I mean, this has been a big mess.
Yeah.
California then saying, if that's what they're going to do, we're going to do it too.
Sure.
So we're going to get to whether or not it could happen here. But let's use this to show gerrymandering. Here we have a county, predominantly blue.
Right.
And if you want to make this a red county, you go like this. 5 in each.
Yeah.
But now you've got 2 red representatives and only 1 blue in a majority blue district.
Right.
Is that a good explanation of gerrymandering?
Yeah, that's exactly what people are talking about right now, both in Texas and California, is how do you, where the U.S. House is very tightly held, if you can get a marginal seat here or a marginal seat there or get 4 or 5 seats somewhere, by essentially assigning voters to a district by their party, that's what's going on.
The accusation from Texas is this is already going on, and their new map is going to correct that.
Right.
So depending on where you fall, but the question for Arizona is, could it happen here?
Well, so in Arizona, back in 2000, the voters put in the Arizona Constitution an independent redistricting commission. So what that body does is it draws lines for our congressional seats and our legislative seats. And it's got a less political charge, if you will, right? I mean, it is, first of all, it's an independent commission. It's selected by the legislative leadership, and then the members of the commission select their chair. But then they have a list of criteria that they look at that are designed to blunt the politics. For example, they're not allowed to look at where incumbents live, and to the extent possible, they're supposed to keep districts competitive, right? So that's where they're trying to get at this issue of partisan gerrymandering by directing the commissioners, hey, where you can, you've got to make sure that we're not doing a partisan gerrymandering.
Right. So in densely urban areas like we live here in the Valley, it seems to me it would be easier to draw those lines only because that's where so much of the population is. But when you get up north and district where Eli Crane is, and it's such a strange district where Gosar represents that goes all the way from the northwest corner to the southwest corner in Yuma. It's got to be more difficult to get the populace that you need to fill that district. Is that the big issue in those rural areas?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, right? So all of the districts have to be roughly equal population. And there's actually a lot of litigation around how much you can deviate from that question. But yeah, so when you get outside of into rural Arizona, you're having to fill those districts with the folks who are there. And you also have a real natural partisan breakdown in the state, right? So the southern part of the state, Santa Cruz County, is heavily Democratic. That's who lives there. Likewise, if you go up to parts of northwest Arizona, right, it's very, very red.
When you look, though, the possibility of it happening here, is it as simple as our governor stating someday, we're doing this now, Texas did it, California, Arizona's in, or is there a different process if they wanted to do the redistricting in Arizona?
I think it would be difficult, the way things are now, for our legislature to redraw the congressional districts, especially on the kind of timeline that's happening in Texas or California. It's a couple reasons for that. First of all, because our independent redistricting is in the state constitution, you would need to give something to voters to put in place either a process or the districts that was some kind of constitutional referendum that have to pass out of our legislature. California and Texas, their legislatures themselves are dominated by one party and the other, whereas in Arizona, our legislatures are actually, our two houses are very narrowly held themselves.
So not very likely that something like that could happen here.
Not likely at all, I don't think.
So after the next census, it's anticipated we may gain more seats than that. Then we'll start the process over. They'll draw the map, and we will see districts that will look different than they do right now.
That's right. Every 10 years, at least under our Constitution, we actually reset the districts and start from scratch to rebuild them.
I always appreciate the expertise because this has been such a big topic of conversation that there's cheating going on by one party or the other. But it's good to know in Arizona it's an independent commission, and there's probably not much going to change until the next census.
I think that's true. And actually, if you want to know more, we actually have the Clean Elections Commission. We've started a podcast. It's called Beyond the Ballot AZ. You can get it on all your platforms. And we are, for this episode coming up that people can download right now, we have a national expert, law professor, who talks us through all the different ins and outs of this process.
Always appreciate it. We'll be back.